On behalf of the Atlanta Global Studies Center, Andrew Young School of Policy Studies, and the Center for Urban Language Teaching and Research, if you're just joining us, I'd like to welcome you to GSU's Global Careers Expo 2020, an International Education Week event. I'm Christy Winkler, Managing Director of Culture, one of the co-organizers of the event, and I'm delighted to facilitate this panel. This event has brought together organizations that work on global issues and that build global relationships to talk to you, GSU students, about the rewarding opportunities that await you. We know that global competence is an important and desirable skill for these organizations and one that enhances the ability to work and communicate with diverse groups of people and to adapt to new and changing environments. If you're a student who wants to strengthen your global competence and add a global dimension to your resume, you may be interested in the Global Scholars distinction, given at graduation to students who have taken at least 5 Global Scholars courses that develop global competence. Learn more by following the QR code on this screen. Another way to strengthen your global competence is to network, to learn about different organizations that have global connections and operations, find out what they do, and learn about the people who make it all happen. Speaking of the people who make it all happen, again, we are very fortunate that Mrs. Heather McLeod and her colleagues from the U.S. Department of Commerce are here with us for a second panel to talk again about internships, employment, service opportunities, global skills, and professional development. During this second panel, as I mentioned earlier, we will hear from numerous colleagues from the Office of Foreign Service Human Capital, OFSHC, and what you might know as Human Resources. So before I turn it back over to Heather, I'd like to just remind you of a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded. As such, we ask you to keep your mics muted to reduce any noise during the presentation. And again, we will have a Q&A of about 15 or 20 minutes at the end of the presentation. Thank you for your attendance. And now I'll turn it over to Heather and her colleagues.
Thank you. Thanks, Christy. Well, just as you said, we are trying to make sure that we get the practical application of all the things that we're saying and give you tangible action items to leave with on how to pursue a career in the foreign commercial service. And what better way to do that than to speak with our Office of Foreign Service Human Capital. They are the boots on the ground that serve the organization in terms of recruitment, in terms of setting out the processes to hire people, setting out the entry-level requirements. So these are the people that you wanna know and talk to and ask your questions directly to in order to figure out how do you navigate the world of getting into the foreign commercial service. So we have a couple of panelists from the office here, and for Eva, Tashana, and Kelly, if you can please, of course, state your name and then also your title and the specific, the specific part of OFSHC, Office of Foreign Service Human Capital, that you work in. That would be greatly appreciated to kick us off. So Eva.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks for having me. As Heather mentioned earlier, this is one of our busiest seasons because we are actually going through an assessment as we speak. But I'm happy to, anything we can provide to provide knowledge and help you when you're applying next time, I'm happy to do that. Again, my name is Eva Harrison, and I am the lead HR specialist within OFHC, and there's an office there called Workforce Relations and Planning, and my branch basically handles all the performance appraisals, the selection board, the promotion boards, and assessments. Like I said, we just wrapped up our promotion boards, and we are working on assessments virtually this year. I'm happy to be here, and any questions you can ask me, I'll be happy to answer those questions, minus the exercises.
Thank you. Thanks, Eva. Kelly, over to you.
Uh-oh, you're on mute.
you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yep.
sorry. Hi, I am Kelly Ryder. I am also an HR specialist in the Office of Foreign Service Human Capital. I make up a part of a team called Talent Management, and we work with Eva at a time like this when she's gearing up for the assessment to lend her some help. Normally, my portfolio includes classification and staffing, but like I said, we work as a team. We work to bring on interns, help Eva with the assessment, and to help some GM folks as well. So I also am happy to be here and happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. And for those of you, GM equals global markets. That's a part of our organization under the International Trade Administration within the Department of Commerce. So just wanna, well, I'll type it in the chat, some of the acronyms that we use anytime that we, so that you guys have that for reference. Hey, Sue. Hey, well, I was just saying, just to introduce yourself, of course, give your name and your title and what part of OFSHC you work in.
Hi, everyone. I'm Suhaila Young. I'm an HR specialist with Office of Foreign Service Human Capital. So I service kind of like three things. The first thing is our locally engaged staff. These are our local staff that support the mission in the overseas office. They are natives of the specific country where the posts are located. The second one is our limited officer portfolio. These are our officers that support specific missions and specific entities within our overseas branches. So we have officers from United States Patent and Trademark Office, Bureau of Industry and Securities, Enforcement and Compliance, and Global Markets, which are all within International Trade Administration. And then lastly, I also support our overseas internship program. So we do have a commercial services internship program that we utilize students currently enrolled in university, whether it's undergraduate or graduate, who are not graduating. And they participate or they serve as our interns in our overseas offices, either in the spring, summer, or fall. It's just really dependent upon them. Most of the interns have been interested in Mission China so far, but we typically get a lot of interest for a lot of other posts as well.
Thank you, Sue. And Tashana, do you go by Tosh or Tashana?
Tashana's good.
Okay, all right.
I was like, if it goes by or TJ, either way.
Oh, TJ, okay. Over to
so,
you. Go ahead.
So my name is Tashana Jones. I also work with Kelly and Sue on the talent management team. I recently was with Eva on WRP, but then I bounced over here to ops to help out. And so I do, oh my goodness, I can't even think. I do recruitment classifications, so onboarding for GS and for the foreign service officer. So
thank you. Thanks, Tashana. And when Tashana just said GS, so that's on the civil service side, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the onboarding for civil service, but just know that these folks are specifically geared towards onboarding and bringing on people for the foreign commercial service, so for our international portfolio. To kick us off, and especially since we're in the season that we're in terms of it's assessment time, it's application time. Eva, can you talk a little bit about the application process for a foreign commercial service officer, and how do you get into the foreign commercial service?
So it starts off by applying to the vacancy via USA Jobs. It's actually two phases. The first phase is the application process. Part of that application process is doing a writing sample. So of course you submit your application, fill out a questionnaire. We, make sure you attach the written samples. We basically screen you out. There are several things that we are looking for when we do our screen out. We're making sure that you're a US citizen. We're making sure that you have a bachelor's or master's degree. And we're making sure that you have 2 or 3 years of specialized experience. That specialized experience could be experience with international finance, it could be trade promotions, it could be international business, anything that we can pick out and say, okay, this person can be a potential commercial officer. We use that as a further screen out. So once you get past that first hurdle, we actually review your writing samples by a subject matter expert panel. So they're looking at the way you write, the way you're communicating on paper, and then we further screen you out. So that last screen out determines who gets selected to go to the assessment center. When you go to the assessment center, it's usually a day-long process. Usually starts from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I see Heather smiling because she's been through it. And there are about 5 exercises, and we just go through the different exercises with assessors. You have assessors who will be assessing you those days. And at the end of it, we score you, and depending on how you score, determines whether you get that call back that you've been selected as a foreign commercial officer. So that's pretty much how the process of getting from the application to getting into the door.
Thank you, Eva. It's a lot. Eva said a good amount of things just now, and the 2 things that I wanted to highlight from what Eva said, I guess continuing from the previous panel, is the need for those writing skills. As Eva said, there's a writing portion, a writing sample portion of the application. They're looking for those writing skills. How concise are you? How clear are you? How succinct are you? Do you express what you mean to express in an easy to follow way? So the importance of writing, from what Keaton said in the other panel, is extremely important because it plays a role in the application process. And the second thing is what Rhonda said from the previous panel, is that if you can, State Department, they do these assessment practices. If you can get into one of those assessment practices, it will do you a lot of good to have that practice being interviewed, and being having all eyes on you for from 9 a.m. actually from before you start the assessment. So when you walk through those doors, from before the assessment starts until you leave the assessment center, it's good to have that, to be aware of that, and to know what, to go through it and practice run. Eva, did you want to talk about how this year it's virtual because of COVID?
Yes, and just to add to what you said, Heather, before I go into that, I want to add that it's very important to read the instructions. A lot of issues we had last year, and Kelly can attest to this, is we had people that miss the littlest things, or even if it means put it on a Word document, 12-point, font, or do not attach, or attach. They miss those things, and because of those little things, they get screened out. Mainly because they didn't follow directions, and we didn't see their application or the rest of their documents. So it's really important to read the instructions. Even with writing writing samples, read what we're asking you to do, so that when the subject matter expert is reviewing, they're like, they followed instructions, and not they went left instead of being right. So it's really important to pay attention to the details of the instructions we are providing to you. This year, yes, so we were actually going to have the assessment in August, and it was going to be live, like we normally do. But because of COVID, the decision was to do it virtually. So we actually are doing it virtual. we're still trying to figure out how it's going to be. So right now we're in the process of planning the platform, how it will be, but so far so good. It is going to be virtual, just like we're not eliminating any exercise. So the only difference is that you will be on camera, all eyes on you, and you will be monitored by proctors and by your assessors. And that's the only difference this year.
Thank you, Eva. Sue.
Heather, before
Kelly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, before you go on, I want to also add to what Eva said. Paying attention to detail is very important when you're applying, and also reviewing your application before you submit it, before the closing date. We have a lot of people that say, I was in the middle of putting my application in. It expires, the job opportunity announcement expires at midnight the day of closing. So don't try to log on at 11:45 to fill out this long application. I would suggest you start when it opens, give yourself the entire time it's open to review it, to finesse it so that you can give your best product. That's all I want to say.
Oh, that's excellent, Kelly. Thank you so much. And this goes not just for, not just for the foreign commercial service application, but any application on USA Jobs. And as I put in the chat, usajobs.gov is the website for federal government opportunities. And you want to make sure that you're reading the announcement, that you're following the directions, that you're paying attention to detail, just as Kelly said, to make sure that your application does not get screened out, because that's the whole point of the screening out process, is to screen out people who don't either follow the directions or don't have the technical do not have the technical skills or do not meet the requirements. So you want to make sure that you've done everything in your power to make sure that you're getting screened in into the pool to the next stage. Thank you, Kelly, for that addition.
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
This is Sue. Hi. I just wanted to add one thing also, that, it's really important, first of all, that when you apply to any job on USA Jobs, any job, but particularly ones on USA Jobs, that the first thing you do is read the entire announcement. Most times what happens is applicants will see a job and they'll be like, yes, I absolutely qualify for that job. And they do. But they will miss intricate parts of the job vacancy, like specific documents that they have to turn in, or specific supporting documents that are, maybe not required, but definitely something that they would need, or better yet, information that is not placed on their resume, but that is required and would be needed. So we definitely encourage applicants to read the job announcement in its entirety first, and then make sure that you have everything that is required, not only on your resume, but as your supporting documentation as well. And if you are unclear about something, most times there'll be like a number or an email address that you can call. I always encourage people to, call and ask for specific information if you're unclear about something, because what you don't want to happen is you get to the end and you submit this job and you're like, oh, I'm so perfect for this job, and you're missing something. And so ultimately you have, screened yourself out. So just, pay very close attention to the job vacancy announcement as well as your application package before you submit it.
Thank you. And I guess, transitioning a little bit, just thinking about, okay, so you've seen the job on USA Jobs, you've applied and everything, and Eva, you went through the process. Before the job comes up on USA Jobs, what's the best way for students to prepare to meet the qualifications and to meet the requirements set forth in the job announcement? This for anyone who wants to take this: Kelly, Sue, Tashana, or Eva.
I will say, and my colleagues can chime in. I would say doing an internship, that helps a lot. doing writing, brushing up on your writing skills, that helps a lot. Getting ready to, let's see, supervisory skills, even though some, depending on the level we're advertising for, we won't require supervisory skills, but you might want to, do some work where it requires you to lead, working in a team, that helps a lot, because those are some of the exercises that you're going to see in the assessment center.
Sue, thank you, Eva. Sue, did you want to pick up on specifically the internship opportunities?
Yeah, so I think, like Eva said, internships is a great way, particularly with experience that, will, first of all, give you an idea of what life is like as a foreign commercial officer, but it'll also give you an idea of the different skills and things that you may need in order to be successful in that position. So a lot of times what our interns do is they participate in different activities that are occurring at post. So whether it is that they're supporting trade shows, or they may be preparing for a VIP visit, or they may be working with foreign commercial officers in support of a specific sector, whether it be healthcare, or especially right now with Prosper Africa and the oil and gas industry, the energy industry. So these are great opportunities for people to participate in, to kind of get their feet wet, to know what a day in the life of a foreign commercial officer is. And so it's a lot of the things that, our interns do is more hands-on experience rather than academic or scholastic experience. That's great. But the tools and things and the projects that our interns participate on will just definitely give them that hands-on experience that, number one, they'll need to determine whether or not this is something that they want to do. And then secondly, if it is something that they want to do, that they'll know whether or not they'll be successful at it. Could they carry this on, for the next 10, 15, 20 years? So I definitely agree with the intern portions of it.
Yes. And David put in the chat the link to the commercial service internship webpage. And then another internship opportunity that Commerce on the domestic side, on the civil service side, is getting into is the virtual student foreign service, virtual student federal service internship program operated through State Department. And that program has projects from all across the US government. Commerce has submitted a couple of projects for virtual interns to work on. So just what Sue said, we offer very hands-on internships. It's not like you're doing admin, you're doing real work that a trade specialist or a foreign commercial service officer would be doing, giving you that practical skill. I like to say that, and this is my story coming out of school, I got an internship with foreign commercial service. I interned in Johannesburg, South Africa. And years later, when I did apply to foreign commercial service, I could specifically point to that experience to meet the qualifications, requirements, and some of the technical skills and abilities that were required in the application. So definitely getting an internship is a leg up, and it helps with meeting some of the requirements, because you have exuded that you have those during the course of your internship. Thank you, Sue, for that. There was a question in the chat about language. And this is from Colby, and he said, how and at what point is the applicant's language ability assessed in the application process? So I'm assuming, Colby, that you have a language or two down, and you want to know if that can help you.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Eva.
I can answer that. Okay, so it helps to have a language. However, we don't use that. It's not a screen out for us. Normally, once you make it to the assessment center, we do ask that, to let us know if you have a language, because what's going to happen is If you pass the assessment and you're on the list, the rank order list, that's what we call it. You make it on this list. We ask for that language proficiency report, and it kind of gives you a bump. You know, it gives you not a big bump, but just a bump. So you just go up one slot over. That's when we ask for the language. But to get into the assessment, you don't have to have a language to make it through.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Eva. And Maureen asks, could having that's kind of a long question. Maureen, do you mind asking the question by opening up your mic to ask it?
Hi, thank you so much. So my question was basically, you know, someone's got an international affairs graduate degree and a finance undergraduate degree. You know, will that substitute for specialized experience? I recall you bringing that up. You know, and again, thank you for addressing the language question as well. And, you know, and this person's also got considerable international experience. You know, they lived all over the world, you know, for decades. Will that kind of help in, you know, substituting for the specialized experience that, you know, the organization calls for? Thank you.
I can take this one, and if my colleagues can chime in, that'll be great. I know that bachelor's or graduate degree is required. You need to have either or. That's the education requirement. But in addition, we do ask for the specialized experience. So if you have the education, it doesn't wipe out. It doesn't substitute, you know, the specialized experience. You have to have the education and the specialized experience. I believe that is what we have on our vacancy at the moment right now.
Is the vacancy still up? Because I can send them the link. Oh, it's not up. Okay, it's gone.
Yeah, I think you can send it, but I don't think you can apply to it.
Yeah, but
correct me if I'm wrong.
But the vacancy, just so they
No, it closed on Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know if they can view it. They probably can view it, but they probably couldn't apply to it.
No, not for application purposes. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is so they can see the whole application, like the duties and the responsibilities section and everything.
Yeah. We can actually, I have like the actual copy. I can send that to you. Okay. And you can, you know, yeah, you can view it, and, you know, again, you can't apply to it, but at least you have the content.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What about, you know, in terms of the specialized experience, you know, if they have transferable skills, so if you mentioned like leadership skills, writing skills, communication skills, they have those skills, but it's not specifically in a trade context. Do they still meet those requirements?
I'll let Sue take this one because she's actually doing that right now.
Okay. In the hot seat.
So,
yes.
So, you know, I try not to give like a yes or no answer with that, because honestly speaking, you know, when we review federal resumes, we want everyone to put all related experience. And so, you know, depending upon what the specialized experience says, you know, there may be some specialized experience statements that speak strictly to technical knowledge or technical experience. Mm-hmm. So the thing that we always want to stress is that
you're breaking up a little bit.
So
is it me? Am I or Sue?
Yeah, she's breaking up.
Oh, okay. We'll wait until she's breaking up.
Yeah, but Sue is on the team.
In mine, and then
here she is.
Sue, we didn't hear what
you broke up, Sue.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm in the backwoods of Virginia right now, so
the last thing we heard you say was you want to technical knowledge, that some some requirements may speak to technical knowledge.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to try to be really quick so that I don't break up again. So, okay. So, yeah. So some of our specialized experience statements may speak to specific technical requirements. You know, it may be something that's, you know, technically specific, but if you have experience that could relate to that, you definitely want to include it. That's number one. Number two, you always want to include experience, whether it's paid or unpaid. And number three, a lot of people feel like if it's not recent, you know, then I shouldn't include it. But I always tell people, if you've done this work for a considerable amount of time, whether it was, you know, 2 years ago or 10 years ago, absolutely that is work that you've done, and you definitely want to include that. You know, so we don't want to say that, you know, absolutely don't rule it out, but you definitely want to include this information, skills that are transferable, because like what Eva said, once you get to the assessment portion of it, those transferable skills that you have will need to be displayed if you get to the assessment portion of it. So you definitely want to, number one, again, read the job opportunity announcement, and read the specialized experience statements. And though, you know, when you read the specialized experience statements, you know, really digest what it is that means, especially for our positions. You know, we really want you to really understand what does that mean, and make sure that your experience is related to that. You know, make sure that your experience kind of explains this. What are we looking for? Do you even have this experience? Which goes back to you know, just being able to read the announcement in the beginning and say, okay, I know that this is something I would love to do, but do I really have this type of experience that they're looking for? And know that, you know, specialized experience changes based upon the grade of the position that's being announced. And so like Eva said earlier, you know, some of our positions, most of our positions, I would say in the foreign commercial service in terms of officers, do require them to perform as supervisors. But it really just depends on, you know, the position grade level that's being announced at that time. So absolutely take a look at the specialized experience. You know, don't be hesitant about putting paid and unpaid work experience on there. Make sure that you explain what the experience is, because I think a lot of times people put like, you know, maybe 1 or 2 lines, and so we're left to guess, you know, really what does that mean and how does that relate? And that's really not, you know, our responsibility. So I always tell applicants, whatever it is you want us to know, put it in that resume. You know, we cannot speculate and we cannot guess what this information is. So always be thorough.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
I want to add to,
I was gonna add to that, just saying that make sure that it relates to your resume too. So whatever experience you're saying that you're having and that you've done, it should be something that we could look at and relate it to where it was on your resume, where you did it at. Like, it should be flowing all together. It should be seamless for us to see.
Mm-hmm. Very clear. It should be very, very clear for the people reviewing your application to see, yes, this is where this person has this skill set, and they can like check it off, you know. Maureen, does that answer your question in regards to adjusting the expertise and the specialized experience?
Yes, thank you so much. That was a very thorough answer. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
Heather, can I add to that? I want to give one little tip.
Yep.
Another thing is, you know, you state it in your resume. Make sure you state it in your resume, but also use the writing samples as an opportunity to write about those different experiences. You know, like, again, I'm not going to share what we're going to tell you, but basically, you know, if it asks about collaboration, okay, use some of those experiences to talk about how you collaborated, you know, because we can actually get like a full story versus, you know, a snippet from the resume. So use your writing samples as an opportunity to tell us, you know, how you do well with time management and collaboration and things like that.
And Eva, you teed this comment up really well, because I was just about to talk about the STAR format, and David put it, or Christy put it in the chat. about what the STAR format is all about. And at this point in time, you guys are in school. You should be thinking about creating your bank of stories. And your bank of stories should outline some of the key competencies and the key skills that we talked about in this panel and also in the panel beforehand. Skills like leadership, teamwork and collaboration, writing, negotiation, project management, all of those things, and also looking at the 13 dimensions that I mentioned in the other panel. All those things you should be thinking about: how and when have I exuded those attributes, and how can I write about it now to prepare for interviews, to prepare for resume, to put on my resume, to prepare for when I'm networking. You want to have what I like to call these bank of stories that talk about that point to specific examples out of volunteer experiences, previous work experiences, leading a sports team, leading an extracurricular activity, hobbies, any of those things that can show that you have these specific attributes and skills that we're looking for. And not only, I should say, we being the Foreign Commercial Service, but that you really should have throughout the federal government. Rhonda talked about interpersonal skills and being adaptable and being able to be in a different environment. So those are the skills that you should start to think about, and start to think about how do you write narratives that show that you exude those qualities. So that's something that I wanted to make sure that you guys understood. From Tashana, Kelly, Eva, Sue, any other comments before I turn to questions from the audience? All righty. So we're opening up to questions from you guys. And Christy, I don't know if I've missed any questions, during the course of the conversation, but if you can help me guide some of the question and answer period, this question and answer period, that would be great.
Absolutely. If you want to look at Colby's question, I'll kind of scroll back up and make sure we didn't miss any from before.
Okay, that's a good question, Colby. What is the most common mistake or biggest misunderstanding that applicants display in their FCS resumes? Think about it for a second.
You waiting on me?
No, Kelly's the answer.
I think that the most common mistake is not paying attention to detail, not following directions, being too quick to answer the questions and put their resume together. I don't know, do any of my colleagues have anything else that they can add to that? Thank you.
Not proofreading.
Yeah, I was gonna agree with that.
It was you'll be amazed. It might be, I know it's simple, but it is really bad when you apply to be a commercial officer and we have your writing samples and it's so bad. You were like, okay, you could at least, spell check, so just the little things, in addition to reading the instructions, spell check, especially on your resume and on your writing samples.
Yeah. It makes it seem like they rushed.
I would also say it's like what I find in reading the resume. So I just kind of want to first dispel one myth that there is some sort of computer system that reads federal resumes. So you're looking at the 4 computer systems that read your resumes. That would be myself, Eva, Kelly, and Tashana. So our computer brains are a little bit, slow at times. And so what we find, though, is that a lot of people leave holes in their resumes. It's not consistent. They'll start saying one thing and then drift off into something else, else, or just kind of, smack dab in the middle of a sentence, they've decided to put a period there when that wasn't the end of the thought. That wasn't the end of, what they were going to say. So I would just say, like everybody else said, proofreading, paying attention. That is also your attention to detail, and don't rush through it. And I think somebody said that, don't rush through it, and just kind of take your time and review it before you hit send.
I couldn't agree more. You have to really, really take your time, because a lot of times people think that they want to give us more information, or think that they're giving us too much information. And that, I think that's where that comes from, where people are like cutting themselves off, or like the thought isn't complete. But make sure you do give enough information, because before you can get an interview, before we even see you walk in the door, we have to know your story, and your resume is your background, is your story. So.
Oh, I want to add one more thing, and make sure you check, and this goes with the details, make sure you check your attachments, because last year we had a lot of people who they thought they attached something, and if you've gone in USA Jobs, if you're not careful, it replaces something else. So nothing was attached, and unfortunately we can't accept it. But I mean, it's those little details, just making sure that your application is actually complete. And like Sue said, if you have any questions, we have the email. There's usually an email, a phone number. Just reach out and just, talk to somebody so we can make sure that it's in there. So.
Thank you guys. Any other questions from the group?
I'll just say this. I did see the question from earlier, and we did address that, how to get into commerce. Is it similar to the civil service? I don't know if we've really differentiated and allowed everybody to answer that question. And I don't know if you'd like to address that now.
I can take a stab at that. One thing I do want to talk about with you guys is that the Pathways program is a really good program that I've seen a lot of announcements, and what we call job postings announcements that get placed on USA Jobs from the International Trade Administration. And like I said before, International Trade Administration is under Department of Commerce, so it falls under the Department of Commerce. And there have been a lot of Pathways programs for international trade specialist positions. Now, those positions are different from the Foreign Commercial Service in that they are not Foreign Service officers. They serve in the U.S. Export Assistance Centers domestically. So they serve in one of those U.S. Export Assistance Centers across the country. And we have about 100 in different cities. And so what often happens, though, is that there are international trade specialists that come on and they start off on the civil service side. And because they've acquired those specialized technical skills and abilities, they then apply to the Foreign Commercial Service when the announcement is open on USA Jobs. So that's a career path that some people have taken, and it works because you have that specialized experience. Of course, you have to, go through the oral assessment, and you have to apply and meet all the qualifications and the specifications. But that usually is a career trajectory for some people. Another thing I would say is that the Pathways program throughout the federal government is the best way for recent graduates to get into the federal government. And that happened to me when I first came out of graduate school. I was a policy fellow with the Department of Homeland Security. And back then it was called the Policy Fellowship Program, but it has since changed to the Pathways program. And it allows for you to get in under with like specific requirements based because you're new, you're just fresh out of grad school or undergrad. It doesn't have like as stringent requirements. For you guys, if you graduate from grad school, you qualify as a GS9, and then for those of you who graduate from undergrad, you qualify as a GS7. So you want to make sure that you're applying to the right pathways program, because sometimes they come out both as GS7 and GS9. And then the last thing I'll say about it is that for graduate students, you also want to consider the Presidential Management Fellowship. And that's another way that recent grad students can get into the federal government on the civil service side. You have to apply, you take a test, and based on how you do on the test, you get a specific appointment into an agency within the federal government, and you get to rotate to different agencies over the course of 2 years. So it's a 2-year kind of trial period, and then you get picked up by an agency. Hopefully you're sponsoring agency out of the PMF program. So I think that covered that question with respect to civil service. Christy, back to you.
Yes, I really liked that bonus question that you asked to the first panel. And I think that maybe attendees want to hear about that. Was there anything that surprised you when you began doing this work, or anything you wish you had known going into it?
A good one. Kelly or Eva or Tashana or Sue, anything? I don't know if you heard Christy's question, but Christy, can you repeat the question one more time?
Absolutely. Was there anything that surprised you when you began doing this work, or anything that you wish you had known going into it?
I'll go first. My former life, I was a diplomatic spouse. So I've worked overseas at several embassies, and so I'm familiar with that life. So that part of it did not surprise me. What surprised me was the paper pushing within and my colleagues can attest to this. We're like maybe like a couple decades behind. So one of the things we're always working to do is change the way we do things. I heard Heather talking about when she came on board, she had the flag, and Rhonda had a different welcome where they just got the email. So we're always looking to reinvent the way we do things in OFHC. Doing the assessment virtually will be another big one for us. So that's one of the things that we're always looking to grow within the branch. So that's my experience.
I would say with me being new to commerce and being new to dealing with foreign service, I think that this year working with the performance branch is realizing how much the foreign service officers do, and how they go into different countries, and they do have to represent the US, but they have such a big responsibility, and how much you don't even think about, but it's the things that they do. So I think that is pretty awesome with foreign service goes. Like us on HR is like the same work you're gonna do, but it's just great to do it when you see like it's a different avenue, especially for me dealing with civil service and foreign service. I think it's just such a exciting and different avenue for the foreign service side.
So for me, I did not know what the Foreign Service was before I became an HR specialist at the Department of Commerce. So I wish I had known. Something that I enjoy about my job is getting to know these people. I mean, we get to know everyone from the officer to their spouse, to their children, to their dog, or their pet. So you build relationships with these people, and I find that very gratifying, because normally in an HR office you meet the person when they are hired and when they have problems, but these people have connections with you their entire career. So I find that gratifying. I just wish I had known about it before, but I'm grateful that I'm here now and I learned about it now. Officers are great. Like I said, they form connections with you, and they keep tabs of you, just like you keep tabs of them. They're sad to see you go when you go. They're happy about everything you do for them and grateful. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, guys. No, thank you so much for all of your very, very practical information. If for the students on the line, I'll put up my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to message me if you have any more questions, and if you specifically have questions about the Foreign Commercial Service internship, just use the link or email me via LinkedIn to get in contact and to learn more information. I really do feel like internships are the best eye opener, the best way to gather those technical skills, and the best way to really know if this is the right career move for you. So yeah, Christy, over to you to kind of close us out, and I don't know if there are any other questions because I phased out like my Wi-Fi disconnected, so my chat screen is all clear. I don't know if there are other questions, Christy.
So I think, well, since we're almost at 4:55, I think we'll allow people to connect with you directly, just so we can, respect the time of all the panelists, which we appreciate so much.
Especially since we got early dismissal. Thanks, guys.
I know.
Thank you.
We've understood that it's a busy time. So thank you, Heather, and thank you all of you, all the colleagues, Ava, Kelly, Sue, Tashana, Rhonda, and Keaton from the first panel. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody.
Kelly.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate all the student questions as well. We want to thank the U.S. Department of Commerce and all of the organizations actually that have participated in the Global Careers Expo today. We really appreciate you sharing your time and your expertise with us. We know it's a busy time for you. So students in the audience, thank you for your insightful questions. You will receive a link to short feedback form by email. So please do take a moment to share your thoughts with us. Your input's really valuable and it helps us plan the next Global Careers event. Do check the program schedule for the remainder of the week. And I will repeat this for those that are new. I will draw your attention to one event in particular. Are you smarter than a Georgia State professor? It's the annual international trivia game where students compete against faculty to test their international knowledge. So if you win, you can put that as one of your star skills, right? Start that list too. So that trivia game is tomorrow, the 11th, from 4 to 5:30 p.m. And we'll put that registration link in the chat. Again, Heather and everyone, all the colleagues, thank you so much. And I encourage you students to be in touch with Heather and to take her advice to heart. What I took away was meticulous attention to detail, whether it's a foreign service application or homework or whatever. Just make sure that we're paying attention to detail. So thank you again. And we look forward to staying in touch with everyone and hosting students for future events.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Thanks, Christy. Thanks, Dave. I don't know if Dave's still. Yep, he's still there. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you all. And I just put that registration link in the chat. So if you're interested in the "Are You Smarter Than a Georgia State Professor?" then you can check that out.
All right. Take care.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.